What's up, everyone? Welcome into the stream. We're getting after it today. College football week 7. It is time for the greatest weekend of college football that we have seen so far this season. Unbelievably excited to see this one going on. Some massive matchups. I'll pull up my top 11 matchups real quick. There are some dogs. By the way, I'll be doing a stream tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. with my guys from Saturdays in the SEC, a sports podcast, mainly talking about the SEC and all the going ons of basically any team you could imagine. So, with that being said, let's talk about my top 11 matchups for this weekend. Honorable mention goes to Florida, Texas A&M. I think that this game would be much, much higher if there was some more, I guess, cheddar on the line here. Florida, with their 3 losses, definitely pulls the weight off this game. Now, technically, Florida only has one conference loss. They can absolutely compete for an SEC championship. So I definitely would be watching out to see how that plays out. I made an Instagram reel about it a few days ago, but overall, be sure to check out this game for sure. It's going down at 6 p.m., taking place at Kyle Allen Stadium last year with Texas A&M on the road. I think it was Marcel Reed's first official start. The Aggies dog walked the Florida Gators, and that's kind of where people thought Billy Napier's hot seat was at its hottest, was after that loss to Texas A&M. You know, they had gotten blown out by Miami, and then, of course, getting blown out by A&M with a backup quarterback as the starter. Billy Napier's seat got as hot as it has gotten so far. And so now, with Billy Napier probably reaching that peak yet again in terms of the hot seat, it's that time. And you know, in my opinion, the greatest coach on the hot seat right now over the last 3 years is Billy freaking Napier. You think he's about to get fired, and he turns around and beats the number 9 team in the country. That's Billy Napier for you. So be sure to watch out for the Florida Gators. They can absolutely win this game versus Texas A&M. The next big time matchup I've got is Kansas at Texas Tech. That game's going down at 6:30 tomorrow. I'm a fan of this Kansas offense. I think they get the job done easily when it comes to putting up points. The problem is they've yet to face a defense like Texas Tech. The Red Raiders, especially at home, have been dog walking teams. I think they're a top 10 scoring team. Kansas, of course, with Jalen Daniels and the receiving core that they have, can be electric. They're 14.5-point dogs. To me, I think that's too many points, but I haven't delved too deep into whether or not Kansas can actually cover that spread. Just off the rip, looks a little too steep. Next up, we've got Georgia and Auburn. This is a massive matchup, and upset alert is sprayed all over this game. Also taking place at 6:30. Man, it's going to be hard. Unless you have YouTube TV with the quad box or whatever, you're going to have to get individual TVs out to watch all of these games, because I'm telling you, this is prime time action. These games are significant. So Georgia at Auburn, Jordan Hare at night is a haunted place to play. And a great team to ask about that is the Georgia Bulldogs. Auburn has pulled off multiple massive upsets against Georgia in their building. Then on top of that, Auburn, in my opinion, their offense is not as bad as people are chalking it up to be. There are 2 losses where they kind of laid an egg offensively, come on the road to 2 top 10 defenses in Oklahoma and Texas A&M. So I don't think that Auburn is being overrated by any means, but I think this Georgia defense is not as good as it has been under Kirby Smart. I think the Georgia Bulldogs overall aren't as good as they have been with Kirby Smart and Carson Beck, Stetson Bennett, even going back into the let me think about their quarterback before that. Jake Fromm, I thought that team looked better than this Georgia team, but those are just my initial thoughts. So is this an upset? I guess we'll have to wait and see. I haven't made an official pick yet. By the way, for those of you just now joining, I'll be giving out official sides and totals tomorrow morning in my stream at 10 a.m. We'll be talking about these big games. Next up, we got South Carolina, LSU. LSU's offense has got to get right in this game. We saw teams like Missouri put up 29 on South Carolina's offense at home. I think LSU has to do more of the same. Now, South Carolina has nowhere near the amount of talent that they did last year defensively. Of course, missing Kyle Kennard, Tonka Hemingway, those guys in the front seven. It's a massive impact, right? I mean, you can't get to the passer like you did last year. I think South Carolina was a top 10 pass rush team. So I'm really looking forward to watching what South Carolina can do defensively to slow down LSU. And on the flip side, Lenore Sellers, he probably has not played a defense as talented as this LSU defense. So can South Carolina compete is really the question. I think LSU will eventually put up points in this game, but whether or not South Carolina can get the job done, that's what I'm worried about offensively. That's going to be my main focus of this game. But then, of course, tonight we have an American Conference barn burner, USF, North Texas. The line has swung, by the way. If we want to go look at that game real quick, USF, North Texas. USF is now a 2.5-point dog. I initially was thinking about taking North Texas. I think they opened up as a 2.5-point dog. So this line swinging 5 whole points means a lot to me. It's going to go down tonight at 6:30, basically as soon as this stream is over. I'm rocking with South Florida in this game. I think Byron Brown is going to have a hell of a field day. As a matter of fact, let's take a quick look at some player props here and see if we can cook anything up. Anytime touchdown, -145 for Byron Brown. No surprise there. Sam Franklin, who has been getting a good amount of touches. I believe the backup running back or the starting running back for USF is injured, ? And so Sam Franklin steps in here. We'll see what kind of action he gets. Moving on, though, talking about Chaz Nimrod, wide receiver 1 for USF. His line is pretty much about as average as well. So not really a lot to touch here in this game for the USF side of things. But let's take a look at my guy, Drew Mestamaker, averaging 250 yards a game passing, had a big game versus Lamar to start the season. Washington State, extremely efficient. 24 for 29, 211, 4 touchdowns, tore them up. And then versus Army, look, I know I've seen a lot of people in my comment section talking about, oh, North Texas didn't blow out Army. North Texas was up like 28-7 in the third quarter. Their backups blew that game, in my opinion. And so I'm looking at this North Texas team, or blew the game versus Army, excuse me. And I'm looking at this North Texas team, and I'm thinking they actually win games, especially at home. Their games versus South Alabama, Washington State, and, of course, Lamar were extremely dominant. So I'm looking for this USF team to come in and face an absolute challenge here. Will North Texas be able to pull it out? I just don't know. The over-under's at 67.5. That is sky high. We're expecting points on top of points on top of points tonight. Really looking forward to watching this game. I don't have any official picks. If I had anything, maybe a Drew Mestamaker anytime touchdown. 2 out of his 3 games at home this season have scored a touchdown. Maybe. But that's really about it. Carson Beck scored a touchdown versus South Florida's defense. Let's see. Other stats here. I guess Maddox Madsen has had a good day on the ground. I don't know. Guys, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know Drew Mestamaker is going to score a touchdown. But anyways, super excited about this game. I'm in the middle of talking about my top 10 most important college football games, and that's number 7, USF North Texas. Next up, a road matchup, a late-night Big Ten matchup here, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, USC versus Michigan, the number 1 scoring offense in the country versus one of the best defenses with one of the best defensive minds. Strength on strength here. The question is, USC, can they be physical? When they go up against physical teams, they get dominated at the line of scrimmage. And that's kind of been the case for the entirety of Lincoln Riley's tenure with USC. And honestly, for the majority of his Oklahoma tenure, like he was able to pound the rock with Joe Mixon and Baker Mayfield in that era. But ever since he went to USC, they've lost all resemblance of a run game, or all semblance of a run game. And defensively, man, you might as well stick a piece of butter out there because every single offense against USC is a hot knife. And I'm telling you, they're running through it like nobody's business. So I definitely think this game is going to be interesting, to say the least. Over under at 56.5. That seems a little steep, but I'm imagining that has to do with the fact that maybe USC can still put up points, but it's doubtful to say the least. I think Mekhi Lemon, the best receiver in the country so far this season. Let's scroll down and look at his stats real quick. Mekhi Lemon has been playing out of his mind recently. 19 catches in his last 2 games for 278 combined yards, 4 touchdowns in those 2 games, and they come against Big Ten opponents. I'm telling you, this guy right here is the truth, and Lincoln Riley has fully unlocked him. So I'm really excited to see what that matchup looks like. Michigan's defensive backs, by the way, not the best in the country. What they're elite at is stopping the run. So I believe, off the top of my head, I think, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Dylan Raiola. Yes, Dylan Raiola had over 300 passing yards against Michigan. I kind of look for the same. John Mateer, 278 against Michigan here. So we'll see if that happens yet again. I'm honestly thinking that Jaden Mayava and Mekhi Lemon can have a field day on this Michigan secondary. It's all going to depend on whether or not USC's offensive line can hold up for 4 quarters. So that's number 6 in terms of important college football matchups. I'll kind of speed through the rest because I've got a ton of picks to talk to you guys about. Arizona State, Utah, that's a battle for second place in the Big 12. That's a late night game. I think it's 9:15 Central Time. Utah is a 8.5 point favorite in this game. That's way too many points. I'm telling you here right now, unless there are some injury updates that I'm just not aware of. Let me go and take a look here. Sam Levitt. I'm seeing Jeff Sims here. Oh, wow. Sam Levitt is expected to miss this game as of 7 hours ago. So with that new information, I am completely taking away any prediction here. I think Utah is 8.5 point favorites. You could chalk that up to maybe even 13.5 now. Sam Levitt is the offense for Arizona State. Missing him is going to be huge. So let's keep talking, though. We got Ohio State, Illinois. Big Ten matchup with Ohio State on the road. Illinois, outside of that game versus Indiana, has shown they can step up defensively, especially at home. They did it late versus USC. I take that back. They did it early versus USC, and then USC was able to exploit parking the bus by Illinois' defense. I definitely think they can put a stop to the Ohio State offense for a good portion of this game, but overall, Ohio State will win this one, I believe. I mean, they're 14.5 point favorites, right? I mean, they're going to win this game. But next up, we got Bama, Missouri. And to me, I'm seeing a lot of people back Missouri on this game, but Alabama as a 3-point favorite against a Missouri team who, quite frankly, hasn't really played anyone yet. Yeah, they got South Carolina at home. Yeah, they got Kansas with Jalen Daniels, but they have yet to play an elite passing attack like Alabama's got this season. Ty Simpson probably playing like the best quarterback in the country right now, especially when you give him time in the pocket. Man, this guy cuts up defenses. I think Alabama's also establishing some more physicality on the offensive line now with the return of Jam Miller. Defensively, it is a no-raid defense. That secondary has been elite all season long. I don't think they've allowed a 200-yard passer so far this season. They've created so many turnovers in the second part of that unit for the defense. Really excited to see that SEC matchup. I think Alabama -3 is an easy one to go with here. They beat Missouri last year 34-0. Now, of course, Missouri didn't have their starting quarterback. That's another story for another day, though. Let's talk about Oklahoma, Texas. Now, you can see here, I got a Texas shirt on. for reference, I am not a Texas fan. I just like the color burnt orange on my fairly pale white skin. So I like orange. This Texas shirt has no affiliation with the university. I think Oklahoma with John Mateer, who's now been upgraded to probably going to play, is going to put up some points here. This Texas defense allowing DJ Lagway to take the top off. Man, I can't wait to see what John Mateer does. This Red River, by the way, far more impactful than years past. I think Texas is fighting for their college football playoff lives. Oklahoma is looking to continue to stay undefeated and vie for an SEC championship. So tons of impact here in this game right here. So Oklahoma, Texas, that's the second most important game. Most important game this upcoming week 7 in a star-studded lineup. We've got Indiana at Oregon. This is the same old Indiana team, in my opinion. They've been dominant against the teams that they should be. And quite frankly, Oregon has done their job. And this is a young Oregon team, by the way. All of their starters on offense, I believe, will be returning for next year, except for maybe Sadiq, the tight end. Outside of him, though, I think this Oregon team is incredible for how young they are. Dan Lanning deserves top 3 coach in college football consistently over the last few years. He's in that conversation. I think he's in it right now. So those are my top 11 most important college football games. I'm going to go ahead and get started and kind of see where we end up. Let's see. Right now, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 plays that I'm planning to get through today. Like I said, I will be streaming again tomorrow at 10 a.m. We're going to try to get through the rest of them, but for that 10 a.m. stream, we're going to be talking about sides and totals. For example, I like an SEC team to go over their team total in a rivalry game. We'll have to wait and see on that one. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm still combing through these games, by the way. I believe the last game that I looked at was this Iowa-Wisconsin game. So I'm still combing through. I'm going to pick some plays from Clemson, Boston College, USC, Michigan, Texas Tech, Kansas, Georgia, Auburn, South Carolina, LSU, Arizona, BYU, Utah, Arizona State. I'll try to squeeze in a pick for this Boise State game, but that's going to be a hard one to pick. Meanwhile, we've still got some other big-time action here in some of the lower-tier games. Troy, Texas State, that's going to be an interesting game. That being said, let's hop into the plays. I've wasted enough of y'all's time on a yap session right now. First one up, Micah Ford. He is the running back 1 for Stanford. So far this season has been the bell cow for them. Taking a look at their backup running back, Cole Tabb, he got 12 carries versus San Jose State, but overall throughout the year, he's averaging around 5 or 6. And then for Micah Ford, he has been the bell cow back pretty much all season long, 26, 12, 17, 13. But this last game only got 7 carries for 12 yards. Might just not have been his day. I looked it up. I made sure I didn't see any injury reports. I didn't see any quotes about Cole Tabb becoming the starter. His line is non-existent. Micah Ford's is sitting at 32.5. I'm taking an alt play. By the way, all 17 of my plays today are going to be alternate spread plays. We're going plus money only. And right now we've got over 39.5 rushing yards, plus 140 using Hard Rock. The only 2 games that he has not gone over was one where he had a limited amount of carries versus San Jose State, and then versus BYU, who has one of the best run defenses in the entire Big 12. So I definitely think he's going to get his 13, 14 carries. And if he does that, he's going well above this 39.5 line. Looking at who SMU has gone up against, Baylor, Missouri State, TCU, Syracuse, none of those teams are in the top 15 to 25 of rushing offenses. So the fact that we see this line correlating in 2 different ways makes a lot of sense to me that Micah Ford at least is going to split carries here with Cole Tabb. So over 39.5 is my play here, plus 140. I know Stanford is probably going to go down big in this game to SMU. SMU's only 2 losses come to Baylor, who I think is a really good team in the Big 12, and TCU, who I also think is a really good team in the Big 12. Conference-wise, they've beaten everybody they've played. They've only played one conference game versus Syracuse here. But Stanford has been quite impressive so far this season to me. Played Virginia fairly close early on. Boston College outright beat them despite being 14.5-point dogs, I believe, in that game. And then BYU, I don't think that game was terribly ugly. Let me take a look here. BYU, I was 27-3. That game was a little ugly. But putting up 20 on Virginia, a top 20 team in the country, that's pretty impressive. Gutsy wins versus Boston College and San Jose State. I like this Stanford team and where they're going. Just got a $50 million donation, by the way, but I digress. We're not talking lines here. I'm getting off topic. Let's continue. Micah Ford, over 39.5 rushing yards, alt play, plus 140 using Hard Rock for Stanford. Next pick, I think I've got one pick here, and that is in this Alabama-Missouri game. Ty Simpson has been a dog so far this season, passing the football, averaging around 22 completions per game, and best believe when the moment gets close and the moment gets bigger, they're putting the ball in Ty Simpson's hands. And one guy who I have seen on the rise here for Alabama has been Isaiah Horton. He has become the comeback route, jump ball, curl, possession, third down type receiver here for this Alabama team. Kind of reminds me of Roma Dunze, but not terribly. I mean, he's long, he's lanky, he's got really good athletic traits. But we've seen that his target share here using doinksports.com has continued to increase from 1, 3, 5 to 9 and 6 versus Vanderbilt. And in these games, these are big games, by the way, they're seemingly trusting him a lot in these spots. And so the safe play here to me is going over 3.5 here, and that's a plus money play if you want to take it. Plus 100 using Hard Rock here. So that is something that I wouldn't hate if you took it, but I'm going over 4.5 catches. He's done this in 40% of his games. Like I said, on the road as well versus Georgia, receiving 9 targets. I fully expect that he's going to continue to receive around somewhere in between 18 to 25% of the target share. And if that's the case, he only has to cut down or come down with about half of them if Ty Simpson's going to be slinging the rock, which I believe tomorrow he is. Now, looking at this game overview, we see here that the overcast or the weather here is going to be overcast. But I looked it up separately, and I double-checked and made sure it's not going to rain tomorrow. It's just going to be a cloudy day. And so I think Ty Simpson's going to be throwing the ball around. With Alabama only being a 3-point favorite, some people are screaming this is a trap game. We're going to have to wait and see on that one. I'm not necessarily a believer in that. I think Alabama can win this game handily, but I digress. The play I'm going with is Isaiah Horton over 4.5 receptions plus 212 using underdog. Let's continue. Let's talk about this FSU-Pittsburgh game. Player props-wise, there's only one that I really love with a capital L. And that's right here. It popped on down automatically. Randy Pittman Jr., anytime touchdown, plus 253. He's caught 3 in the last 2 games, missed out on some touchdowns earlier this season. I believe he missed some games due to injury. So he's only played in 3. He got 3 receptions in the game versus Alabama. That was week number 1. Now you can see he's back healthy for Florida State, and he's starting to receive the lion's share of the receiving game. Looking at the touchdown screen here on doinksports.com, you can see that he is now in second place despite only playing 3 games for red zone target shares. That's extremely important to me. That shows that Florida State puts a heavy emphasis on trying to squeeze the ball into him. Let's see what we got here. Randy Pittman used to play, I believe, for UCF in the Big 12. He was quite good for them last season. Only caught a couple touchdowns versus Arizona, but overall, receiving game wise, he was getting the targets later in the game or later in the season, right? 5, 4, 3, 4, and for about 48, 49 yards per game. So pretty impressive finish with his time at UCF. Obviously, he comes with Gus Malzahn, the previous head coach at UCF, comes to be the offensive coordinator at Florida State. So I believe he kind of leans on his guy here. 21% of the target share versus Alabama, 13% in a comeback from his injury versus Virginia, and then 30% versus Miami. That means a lot. 13 targets, that's a lot of targets. And for his value to be at plus 253, I like it a lot, ladies and gentlemen. Anytime touchdown here to Randy Pittman Jr. Let's continue, though, because we're only 3 plays in. We got about 35 more minutes into the stream, and I got quite a few more that I want to get through. Next up, we're going to be talking about Houston on the road versus Oklahoma State. Looking at the touchdown screens here, you can see Oklahoma State receiving yards wise is 132nd in the country. They are miserable at stopping the pass. They can't do it. Now, Connor Wegman, quarterback for Houston, coming off an injury. I highly doubt they're going to involve him as much in the run game. If I had to guess where they're going to maybe try to get him to focus on is in the pass game. And as we can see here, going to these player props, scrolling up, and looking at what Connor Wegman does in the last 2 games that he played healthy, 222, 270. And though that was on the road at Oregon State and at home versus Colorado. That game versus Rice wasn't necessarily close. Gets injured in that Texas Tech game. The question is can he come back and play? I definitely think he can. As of right now, he is on track to play tomorrow. And so his line sitting at 199 to me is way too low. I'm going to go alt play here over 224.5 plus 154 on FanDuel. I plugged that in earlier today. And as you can see here, Oklahoma State is still giving up that line 60% of the time. The only time that they didn't was to Baylor Hayes at Tulsa. And let's see, who is this? Jays Bauer at UT Martin. Oklahoma State's defense is god-awful. So to pair with that, I'm looking at probably Connor Wegman's favorite, maybe second favorite target, especially in the last couple of weeks. Amari Thomas, his line is sitting at 51.5. I'm going to go alt play here because Oklahoma State over the last 3 weeks has let wide receiver ones eat them alive. I definitely think that happens yet again here. I'm going alt play over 69.5 yards plus 193 using FanDuel. Or no, I'm sorry, using DraftKings. I actually got that earlier, plus 182 using FanDuel. So I'm definitely going to take that higher play, plug that in, and we'll keep on rolling here. So a pair of picks here, and I'm touching them together, but I'm not a parlay guy. I just like them separately. Connor Wegman over 224.5 passing yards, and Amari Thomas over 69.5 receiving yards. Those two kind of go hand in hand. I think Amari Thomas, who's been trending upward as of recent, will have a field day versus this god-awful, in shambles Oklahoma State defense. That being said, we're going to continue to move on. We're talking about into the later afternoon now. We've got Oregon versus Indiana. Let me take a quick sip of a drink here. Okay, Oregon at home has been phenomenal so far this season. They blew the doors off of Oklahoma State, of course, blew the doors off of Oregon State. At home versus Montana State, of course, 59-13. They struggled a little bit on the road, but this is a young team, by the way. Struggled on the road versus Northwestern, especially early on. And then, of course, versus Penn State, that overtime, double overtime thriller was unbelievably exciting to watch. I wholeheartedly believe that this Oregon team is playing way, way above the belt in terms of experience. They are blowing my mind right now. But the two games that I want to look at are the Indiana games right here. Looking at Ohio State and Notre Dame, both of those games on the road, and that's what I'm doubting here. I think Oregon is in the driver's seat clearly. Looking at their home schedule, they have been dominant to teams. Now, this Ohio State game is not a home game. That is a neutral site game in the Rose Bowl. But outside of Ohio State, they have been clearing the 7-point spread, 8 or 9 of their last 10. We can look over their last 15 and see once again, they are dominating teams. The only team that they didn't record a 7.5 or 7-point spread was Boise State last year. We saw they were a playoff team. So Indiana could be a playoff team. I've yet to buy the hype on them. I know that they blew out Illinois earlier this year, but I just need to see more from Indiana. I need to see them get it done on the road. I don't think this is the spot for them to do it. So I'm going to go heavy on my Oregon dominant props here. For starters, I've got DeCorian Moore. Let's scroll down to him real quick. DeCorian Moore. He is, I believe, a true freshman phenom, right? Last game versus Penn State, 10 receptions, 7 catches, 89 yards. He's also caught 3 touchdowns so far this season. His line is sitting at over under 3.5 at plus 100, a great plus money play. I would take that if I were you, but I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm going to go over 4.5 catches for plus 1. I believe that's plus 180. Okay, DeCorian Moore, as you can see, has been trending upwards in big games, right? He gets 27% of the target share versus Northwestern in a big road game for the Big Ten, 26% of the target share on the road versus Penn State. I think he's going to continue to shine in this Oregon offense as he has for the past few games. We'll see him continue to trend upward here, and I love the plus money play. There's a lot of value in that to me. So that's the play that I like for the receiving game. For the pass game, I'm looking at my guy, Noah Whittingham, who has been under the radar in terms of getting the touches here. I believe he's missed quite a few games with injury. Comes back in that Penn State game, gets 7 carries, 25 yards. This Indiana defense has been statistically really good, but I'm here to tell you they are nowhere near as good as the defenses that Oregon has gone up against over the last couple of years, especially that Penn State front. So I think taking him alt play, his current line is at 35.5. Alt play here over 49.5 yards plus 174. Now, I did do some research, talked about or looked up some quotes here from Dan Lanning. De'Aaron Hill Jr., in my opinion, is going to eventually become the running back one far and away. He's not even on the Our Lads depth chart for Oregon, but yet he has come back in this game and performed at a high level yet again. 10 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown for Penn State. But I believe that Noah Whittingham, despite his injuries, is going to come back and continue to compete for that starting job. And that's why I like him over 49.5. Has done it in 60% of his last 5 games. So he's going to be the RB1 here for Oregon for this game. And that's why I like him alt over 49.5. I think this Indiana defense, as you could see last week with Kamari Moulton, who I believe is the backup there at Iowa, who ended up starting due to injuries on that team, 18 carries, 75 yards. So I'm thinking 10 carries for 50 yards is not a lot to ask for from an Oregon team that's been great at the line of scrimmage. So those are, I believe, 2 of the plays that I've got. By the way, I see we got some more viewers in the chat right now. Let me know what plays you like sitting at the table right now before Saturday kicks off. We're T-minus 25 minutes away from USF North Texas kicking off. Unbelievably excited about that game. But I digress. Getting a little bit more off topic here. Let's go ahead and head to Indiana, who will be at the top of our screen here. There's one guy that I like over his receiving props, plus 116, Omar Cooper Jr., over 4.5 catches. Now, Oregon's defense have not allowed this year. The reason that I think that Omar Cooper Jr. is going to go over this line is because looking at last season, right? In that game versus, I believe, let's see. Yeah, Michigan. That gutsy win versus Michigan. Omar Cooper started to come alive. 3 catches, 53 yards, and a touchdown. And we've seen that he is a consistent red zone threat for this Indiana team. He's caught, wow, 11 touchdowns in his last 10 games. Unbelievably impressive. I just have faith that Indiana is not going to do that well against Oregon's defense early on. They're going to be trying to compete for a playoff spot, though. So I am of the belief that they're going to continuously be passing the football here. Hold on one second. Let me readjust in my chair. That's better. So I think that Indiana is going to continuously be passing the ball here. Omar Cooper has been a massive part of the pass game so far this season. 33, 30, and 35% of the target share over the last 3 games. If Oregon stays tried and true and gets up big in this game, Indiana's going to be forced to pass. I think Omar Cooper goes over that 116 line, over 4.5 receptions. So to recap for this game specifically, I've got DeCorian Moore over 4.5 receptions. I've got Omar Cooper over 4.5 receptions, and I've got Noah Whittingham over 49.5 rushing yards, plus 178, I believe. And with this prop right here, over 4.5, we got it plus 116 via FanDuel. Now, I'll take a quick little break here before we get into the latter half of my picks that I'm going to present today. And I'm going to talk about the fact that doinksports.com has been a blessing to your boy so far picking games in college football. I am a straight bets guy. I do not do parlays. I really don't even do build-up parlays, talking about like 2-leggers for plus 116 or anything like that. I am a straight bets unit play guy. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my model right now that I've been working on all season. I have been on fire. Let me go ahead and stop screen share, reshare my screen here, and look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm on a heater right now. These are every single pick that I have played using doinksports.com. I'm up 43.39 units. And in the last, I believe, let's see, let me think about that math. I think the last 2 or 3 weeks of college football, I'm up, and NFL, of course, I'm up 39.41. Looking at college football holistically, I am, let's see, make sure I got all the college football here. I'm up 16.96 units. You know, I'm not out here trying to tell you that I know no ball, but I am saying that I know ball. Okay. So with that being said, let's get back into it. Let's close this out. Let's stop our screen share and go back to the Doink Sports page. Using doinksports.com, by the way, is a lifesaver. If you are a consistent gambler, you are doing yourself a massive, massive disservice by not using doinksports.com to leverage everything possible. So, for example, let's look at this 4.5 play. Let's check out the track feature on doinksports.com. We see that FanDuel has this line at over 4.5 receptions for Omar Cooper Jr. at 116. If you were using Hard Rock specifically, guys, you're losing 31 points of value. That's 31 cents to your dollar. And while that doesn't sound like a lot, for every $10 that you're betting, you're losing $3 of value. For every $100 you're betting on this specific prop, you're losing $30. Get it up to 1,000. You're losing $300, right? Now, is that a guarantee that this is going to hit? Absolutely not. But what you want to do is you want to maximize your profit. There's no need at all, unless, of course, one of these sports books is not available to you. But if you're in a state that allows FanDuel, you're usually in a state that allows DraftKings, Hard Rock, Caesars, and other stuff. So I would be taking a look at doinksports.com. Not only can you use this for player props, but you can also use this for over-unders. You can go down here, click this feature, track the bet on 10.5 points in the first quarter, over under, track it up. You see that FanDuel's got it at minus 102. If you're using DraftKings, it's at 115. You're losing 13 points in value. So switch to your FanDuel account before you place this bet. Now, if you're saying, oh, well, I already know this stuff, I don't necessarily need to use doingsports.com. Well, I'll also say that comparatively, you can see what other books are offering across the different lines. Not only can you compare what 10.5 looks like, you can compare what 11.5, 12.5, 13.5 look like. And you can see that Caesars has this line standard-wise at 12.5 compared to FanDuel's 10.5. So the question is here, what's the difference between the books, right? That's the value of doinksports.com. That's where I found all my value plays. And quite frankly, that's why I'm up 43 units on the NFL and college football season so far. And best believe, guys, when that NBA season turns around, man, the streams are going to be lit. Man, I cannot wait for the end of October. We're going to get into NBA season. NBA is going to be a great thing to check out on Doink Sports. Talk about value. You try to the books can't even keep up with each other for college football. Imagine on a night in, night out basis what that looks like for the NBA. So getting super fired up for that. A large promo there for Doink Sports. Speaking of promos, let me plug myself real quick and talk about my social media. Guys, I'm on here for doinksports.com, but if you like just generic, not even generic, specific college football, NFL, and NBA content, check me out at Plaisant on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Those are the places you can find me. I'm dropping takes left and right so far this week. I'm about to drop a Jackson Dart edit in just a minute. I'm talking Evil Knievel type stuff with Young Metro and Future. Man, it's a great week. It's a great week to be alive. Week 7 of college football. We got another session of NFL coming in on Sunday. Man, the plays are going everywhere, but it's just great to watch ball in the fall. It's amazing. So with that being said, let's recap what I've got here for you so far, and then we'll get into the rest of my plays. Right now, Stanford, SMU, that game. I've got one player prop for you. It's an alt play, as the rest of these 17 plays that I'll be giving you are. Over 39.5 rush yards for Micah Ford. He plays for Stanford. He's the running back one. I think he's going to continue to get his increased share of carries as he has for the majority of the season. That's why I think he'll get at least 40 yards here versus SMU. Even if SMU puts up points, I don't think this Stanford team gets overly aggressive in the pass game. They have not looked good passing the football so far this season, so I fully expect them to lean on the run. Next up, Isaiah Horton, over 4.5 receptions, plus 212 using underdog. Alabama has increasingly shared the ball with him, talking about target share-wise on the road versus Missouri. Third down in the red zone, you need a jump ball guy. Isaiah Horton is it. He has caught at least 4 catches in his last 3 games. I think he goes over here because this Alabama-Missouri game just might turn into just might be turning into a shutout. So super excited to see what Alabama has to offer there. Next up, Florida State versus, I believe, Pittsburgh. Oh, as a matter of fact, I could see it on Doink Sports. So Randy Pittman, tight end for Florida State. Got him right now on an anytime touchdown, 253. He's caught 3 touchdowns in 3 games, plus 253 using underdog. He has received the second most red zone share of the targets. And on top of that, guys, he's only played in 3 games. He comes from UCF with Gus Malzahn. He's a guy that is trusted a lot in these big games. 13 targets versus Miami. So this is a major conference matchup versus Pitt, who looked phenomenal last week versus Boston College. I fully expect this to turn into a shootout. And if that happens, Randy Pittman is bound to catch a touchdown either this week or next week, right? So plus 253 is a lot of good value there. I like that play a lot using underdog. Next up, let's get into this Houston versus, oh goodness, I'm blanking. Houston versus Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State has been one of the worst passing defenses in the country so far this season. And Houston, albeit with Connor Wegman being injured last week, still can throw the rock. And that's why I think Connor Wegman coming off of injury, he's probable right now over 224.5 passing yards plus 154 using FanDuel. And to pair with him, kind of like a handcuff or a champagne and shackles type thing. If I'm going to party and drink my champagne, well, so should you. And so I'm thinking Amari Thomas, wide receiver 1 for Houston, who's had 2 big games back to back and has become the wide receiver 1 for Houston. Over 69.5 receiving yards for him, plus 193 on DraftKings for them. By the way, getting ready for that USF North Texas game. Going to be a big one. But anyways, I digress. Last recap here before we get into the rest of the plays that I've got going on. We have DeCorian Moore, who is the wide receiver 1 for Oregon, over 4.5 receptions. I think he continues to get the lion's share of this pass game here. I think he catches almost every ball that he gets placed to him. So I definitely think he'll be going over 3.5. By the way, you can get 3.5 for plus 100. That's even odds. I just like the plus 180 there for just one more catch using underdog. Next up, I got Noah Winningham, who I believe is going to be at least splitting carries with Oregon's backfield. I think he'll end up being the guy who gets the majority of carries for this game. So I've got him over 49.5 rushing. His line right now is at 35.5. You can get it over 49.5 plus 178. I like that value a lot. I think Indiana has yet to play a physical team like Oregon. They did last week similarly to Iowa. And Iowa's running back 1 had 15 to 17 carries for 70-plus yards. So I think if Noah Whittington can get just a few of those, I'm talking maybe 7, 8, 9 carries, he'll absolutely get to 49.5 rushing yards. Last but certainly not least, recapping this so far for the stream, we've got Omar Cooper Jr., over 4.5 receptions plus 116. I think Indiana's going to go down in this game big to start, and they're going to be forced to pass for the rest of this game. So Omar Cooper has caught, I think, the most catches on the team so far this season. He has been a major red zone threat. He scored 11 touchdowns in the last 10 games. So be sure to look out for him. He is going to make a massive impact for this Indiana offense tomorrow. Now, let me take one more sip of water as I am really getting after it for you guys. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more plays to talk about. Once again, plus money plays only today. Very refreshing. We're going to move on and talk about this, I believe, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech game. Now, I'm looking at a guy in Kyron Drones who I thought was a very good dual threat quarterback. And so far this season, he has eclipsed 31.5, which is his current line right now. 3 of the 5 times he's played so far this season. He's eclipsed that. He's actually played 6 games. He's eclipsed that in 3 of his 6 games so far this season. The difference here is that Georgia Tech has been god-awful at stopping the quarterback run. You can see here against Evan Simon for Temple, Cade Klubnik for Clemson, Robbie Ashford for Wake Forest, and I believe that's Caden Salter. Caden Salter for Colorado. They're averaging around 15 carries a game for over 49-ish, 40 or 50-ish yards in those games. Now, Georgia Tech was able to hold Weber State. No, I take that back. That's Gardner Webb. We're able to hold him to negative 36 yards. Obviously, 2 different things. I'm going alt play here, and I've got Kyron Drones over 39.5 yards plus 130. That's the play to me. I think he has a major dual threat capability. Georgia Tech has struggled, to say the least, to stop dual threat quarterbacks so far this season. So I'm definitely plugging up here. Oh my goodness, I'm blanking. Kyron Drones over 39.5 rushing yards. Did it against Old Dominion, so I definitely think he'll be able to do it again. I'm a full believer in his dual threat capabilities. I also think this Virginia Tech offense, despite some of these losses, has been kind of unlocked since they fired their head coach. Offensive coordinator, I believe, is now the head coach, and he's been pumping away on the offensive side of the football. I think they're going to get a little more creative here versus Georgia Tech, who has been far and away the second best team in the ACC so far this season outside of Miami. So super excited to watch Kyron Drones against this Georgia Tech defense. Let's continue now. I want to talk about Red River. Red River. This is going to be an unbelievable matchup. John Mateer has been upgraded to probable. I think he's going to play in this game. Man, you want to talk about the grit and the guts that this guy has? By tomorrow, it will mark his 17th day since his surgery on his throwing hand. 17 days to repair a broken bone in his hand. And he's going to come out tomorrow and play in Red River. What a gutsy play here from the star quarterback. Heisman favorite, by the way, before he got injured for Oklahoma. So with that being said, I definitely think Oklahoma's offense is still going to lean on that run game. They've played really well running the football over the last few weeks. And I think they're going to be able to do it again here. We've got Troy Blaylock. This is the alt play that I'm going with here right now. Actually, it's not even an alt play. Over 10.5 carries. That's the only line that you can get at underdog. Over 10.5 plus 107 here on underdog. He has gotten this in his last 3 games. I fully expect him to do it yet again. I did it versus Temple, Auburn, Kent State. I think Oklahoma's going to lean on the run game. They're going to try to not put the ball in John Mateer's hands all game long because, I mean, he's playing on I'm guessing a pretty fragile broken hand. So in terms of him running the football, I highly doubt we're going to see John Mateer run it out a ton. So I don't like his rushing props right now. His line is at 11.5 carries. That is a hell of a lot. I actually would consider taking the under there, under 11.5. Now, did do it versus Michigan, 19. Did do it versus Wyoming last year for Washington State. He is a guy that likes to put the ball on the ground, but I just seriously doubt Oklahoma is going to design runs for him tomorrow. So I'm actually going to add – no, I'm not going to add that to his list because sacks are another thing. It's hard to take the under on rush attempts for a quarterback just because sacks also count against that rushing statistic. So I digress. I will move on and continue to talk about this Texas game. So Troy Blaylock, over 10.5 rush attempts. Is John Mateer going to be airing the ball out? I highly doubt it. I think Deion Burks, the best wide receiver for Oklahoma, his line sitting at 5.5 is a pretty good line, by the way, from Vegas. I wouldn't touch that line with a 10-foot pole. Moving on, though, the one that I would and the one that I do like here is Jaron Kanak. Right now, his line is plus 108, over 3.5 catches. I'm taking that line 100 times out of 100. He has been Mateer's favorite go-to target in big spots so far this season. He's averaging with Mateer in the game. He's averaging around 17, 18% of the target share. I believe he's going to continue to get that. Looking at this game, he consistently gets 6 targets, 4 targets, 6 targets with Mateer healthy and playing. So his line at 3.5, I'd be taking that over. I think he gets to 4 catches as he has in 80% of the games that he's had so far this season. And then last but certainly not least in this game, Arch Manning, who statistically, I guess, hasn't been horrendous. I mean, he has a combined, 6, 9, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Not the worst in the world, but man, has he been disappointing. He was the Heisman favorite going into this season, and I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, he's nowhere near sniffing that Heisman trophy right now. He'll need a hell of a game here in Red River to even get his name remotely close back to the conversation. But I do think that Texas is going to try to get him easy looks. these statistics versus Sam Houston, versus San Jose, and versus Florida, they came moments where it was advantageous to Texas. But looking at this UTEP game and Ohio State game, you could see the spots where defenses exploited Arch Manning and his inexperience passing the football traditionally. I definitely think we're going to see that again. You even saw it versus Florida, right? The vast majority of those yards for Texas, that 263 for Arch Manning, came in the second half of that game. The first half against Florida looked horrible. Arch Manning throws 2 interceptions in that game. Oklahoma, in my opinion, has probably the best defense in the SEC, so maybe a torture chamber. I think head coach Steve Sarkisian, who's feeling the pressure, knows this, and that's why I'm looking at Ryan Wingo over 3.5 receptions. Look at these big games, by the way. Ohio State, he gets 8 targets. Florida, he gets 8 targets. San Jose State, 8 targets. I think if he continues on that path, he's going to get over 3.5 catches. That's my idea here, taking a plus money play. So quick recap here. What I've got for this Oklahoma-Texas game, Red River. We've got Troy Blaylock over 10.5 rush attempts. Jaron Kanek over 3.5 receptions. And Ryan Wingo over 3.5 receptions. There's a lot that I like about this. Wingo's averaging over 23% of the target share here for Texas. I think if that holds true to tomorrow, he'll get another 7, 8, maybe even 9 targets, and we'll see him catch at least 4 of those balls. So that's what I like in this game. I've got 3 more plays to talk about. I'll give some more out tomorrow. Check me out, by the way, in the stream tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. sharp. I will be with my friends from a podcast called Saturdays in the SEC. They're a phenomenal group with a tremendous amount of ball knowledge. They'll be dropping some sides and totals for you. So be sure to tune into that at 10 a.m. I'll also be dropping any other player props that I get. But let's continue here. We've got Arkansas. Let's see. Arkansas, Tennessee. I'm going to roll through these last 3 plays pretty quickly. Talon Green has been torching teams so far this year. These 3 losses back to back to back have not been his fault at all. Yeah, he's thrown a few interceptions, but I think 2 of those 3 interceptions were off of a receiver tip. So I'm not blaming Talon Green at all. I think he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the country and is playing himself into an NFL first or second round pick. So very excited to watch him versus a Tennessee defense who has kind of let quarterbacks run crazy. I mean, Gunnar Stockton passed for 1 million yards. So did UAB quarterback Jalen Kitna. Crazy. I think that's 364. Yeah, 364, 2 touchdowns for UAB in that game. Obviously, some of that comes in garbage time. Blake Shapen, however, was held to just 180 yards. I think this Arkansas offense, with now head coach Bobby Petrino, who was formerly the offensive coordinator, is going to get unlocked versus this Tennessee defense, who is nowhere near as good as I thought they would be. I think he goes over his 250 yards. By the way, Arkansas, 10.5-point dog. I think if that's the case, they're absolutely going to be throwing the ball far more. You see Talon Green's attempts in his last 3 games, 35, 34, 32. And we see as the attempts go down, so do the points. I definitely think that Talon Green is going well over this 250 line. I'm taking an alt play here at over 259.5 plus 107 using DraftKings. That's the value play to me there for this game. Moving on, talking about this Florida-Texas A&M game, player props. I think Florida being a 7.5-point dog is tried and true. On the road, they've looked awful so far this season. I'm super excited to see what they look like in this game. Jaden Ball has been a guy that has increasingly gotten more and more touches. He goes from 9, 18, 17, 16, all the way up to 31 touches in this game, or 30 touches in this game versus Texas. He is, by the way, the formula to beating teams. Jaden Ball is that guy. And so I think his line sitting here at plus 106 for over-under receptions. I think that goes over. Jacoby Jackson has not been a massive part of the receiving game, only receiving 3 targets in his last 3 games. Meanwhile, last 3 games, Jaden Ball has 15. So we're talking a 5-to-1 ratio here. And I think if Florida gets down, they're going to have to get DJ Lagway involved in the pass game. And what better way to get him comfortable and warmed up than getting a couple receptions to his running back here. So I like Jaden Ball over 2.5. We see that he's going over that on the road games as well. LSU, he gets 7 receptions. Miami, he gets 3 receptions. I'm a big fan of this prop right here, plus 106. I think there's a lot of value there. Last but certainly not least, before I close out the stream, by the way, thanks everybody for tuning in. I am super excited about this college football week. Once again, going to be doing a stream tomorrow at 10 a.m. Be sure to tune into that. But Jacob Gill, wide receiver 1 for Iowa. They're on the road versus Wisconsin. They're going to have to pass the ball at some point. And I think when it comes to who's going to be catching footballs, you can see there's no other receiver that does it like Jacob Gill. His line is at 2.5 plus 169. I think there's a lot of value in that. Wisconsin has given that up in 80% of their last 4 games, 4 out of their last 5. Wide receiver 1s have kind of eaten on them. Wisconsin, by the way, tremendous run defense. Go and look at their statistics. Wisconsin against versus running backs in the country. They are rush yards wise. Let's see here. 69 point. Let me just zone in on that. 69.2 rush yards allowed to running backs so far this season, and that's way up from where it was last week. Michigan's running back Justice Hayes had a field day on Wisconsin's defense. He had 117 yards, but before that, Wisconsin's defense was pitching a practical shutout week in and week out against the run. And so Iowa is good, but not great running the football. I think they're going to be forced to pass, and I think Jacob Gill gets over his receiving receptions target here at 2.5 plus 169. So that being said, full recap here. Go check out doinksports.com, guys. If you're going to purchase a subscription, which I highly recommend, use my code PLIZONT, that's PLIZONT, for 25% off of any purchase here. Check out all of these props, by the way. Consider them for yourselves. Be educated, be smart, gamble responsibly. But here we go. Rapid fire. Micah Ford, over 39.5 rushing yards. Isaiah Horton, over 4.5 receptions. Randy Pittman, anytime touchdown, plus 253. Connor Wegman, over 224.5 passing yards. Amari Thomas, over 69.5 receiving yards. DeCorian Moore, over 4.5 receptions. Noah Whittington, over 49.5 rush yards. Omar Cooper, over 4.5 receptions. Kyron Drones, over 39.5 rush yards. Torrey Blaylock, over 10.5 rush attempts. Jaron Kanik, over 3.5 receptions. Ryan Wingo, over 3.5 receptions. Taylon Green, over 259.5 passing yards. Jaden Ball, over 2.5 receptions. And Jacob Gill, over 2.5 receptions. All of those are plus money plays. Go check them out for yourselves. Be sure to tune in tomorrow to our college